Hey, my name is Kathy with the Rustic Pixie, and today I'm going to show you how I apply my mica and pigment with Tack It. I use this method for a bunch of different bases. You can add detail lines, you can add pattern vinyl, you can add decals on top. This is a really simple base to get you started, and it turns out beautiful every time. Let me show you how. Hey y'all, this is a super quick tutorial on a great way to get a really pretty base. This design works really well for adding different elements to your tumbler. You can add folds to it, you can add decals to it, so many different options, but it just gives you a really pretty base. It's really easy to do and it's really fast to do. So what I started out doing is, this is a 30-ounce tumbler from Behr Crafting Company. And I took it and I applied my Behr paint, and it's also got the primer in it, and this color is a Gloss Resort Sunrise. And next all I'll do is I will take my Tack It, and I don't dilute it, I just apply it straight to the tumbler. And I also don't like to use any brushes. I like to use my hand. I feel like it kind of gives it a look of almost a wood grain, because you get little lines in it, but not too bad. So I don't have any certain amount that I apply. That first little bit always comes a lot, but I just kind of put some lines around the tumbler. And then I take my hand, and at first I kind of just make sure that it's rubbed all over, and I do it in a circular motion just to make sure that it's covered well. And then I take what's left, because I've got a good amount on here, and make sure that I get the bottom, and make sure you get all the little crevices in the bottom. Then once I've got it on there well, I take my hand and I pull it down. And you can kind of see, this is where you get those little wood grain lines. Now you can make it a little bit smoother if you want to by using less. You can also use a brush, will give you a different look, but I really like the ease and the look of using my hands. I go to the top and go around to make sure it's all covered, and I'll do the same thing at the bottom. Make sure you don't have any weird spots on the bottom. And then I'll take my hand again and do the same thing and pull it all down. And that's just to make sure, because any fingerprints or any lines, like where I ran around the top, that would show. It would show a difference of the pattern. So by taking your hand and just pulling it down, the look that you see is what it's going to look like when you apply this pigments or the micas. Now the best thing to do is to sit and let this wait, and let this sit for about an hour to air dry. But you don't have to do that. If you're impatient like I am, always take my heat gun and kind of run it over it. If you've got a couple big spots that don't want to dry, that want to stay wet, and you can tell that it's wet because it'll still look white versus clear, usually what I do is I stop the heat gun before that. You don't want to put it on the same spot for a long time, so I'll take my heat gun and I'm going to go around it until it's clear. Like I said, if I have a big little bubble or something though, I'll wait, because this cup is still warmed up, so that will actually help it dry. The warmth of the cup will help that dry, and you won't be overheating it and drying it out that way. So I'm going to go hit this with my heat gun and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've hit this with my heat gun for about a minute, and I took it, and while constantly turning it, I just hit it with my heat gun. Now, if you have some spots up top where you see that glue, don't worry about it, because we can, that'll come off when you clean the rim. If you want to test to make sure that your Tack It is dry, don't touch the cup. What I suggest doing is touch the bottom of the cup, and you'll feel that it's kind of sticky, and that's how you know that it's ready to go. So for this tumbler, We're going to use my Nicole Marett NMO 16 Candles pigment. I absolutely love this one. I think it's going to be beautiful on this resort sunrise color. So all I do for this is I take a fan brush. You're going to want to be sure that you lay something down to catch this pigment, because you will be able to put it back in the jar. So this is just parchment paper that I get off Amazon, and I'll link it below. This brush is, it's just a fan brush. I like my Real Techniques one because it's got little indentions. As you can tell, it's a little bit thinner here at the end, and I feel like that grips my pigment better. But you can use any makeup brush. A fan brush is easier for me to work with, and you don't have to have this specific one. So I'll just take my pigment, and all I'm going to do is take this fan brush and dip it in there, and you can see how it kind of automatically grabs some. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to move this out of the way. Stick it right here, because a lot of this is going to fall to the side. So then I just kind of tap it on here. And then once I have tapped, I've got it from my jar on my cup, I'm just going to move it around with this fan brush. And then once I kind of get to the bottom, I'll just move it to the side and then kind of go up. And if you miss a spot, that's okay. You can always go back and add some more. If you notice you miss a spot with your Tack It, all you'll do is take your Tack It, and I get my glove finger, put a little bit down, and do the same thing. Let it dry, and then go back over that spot, and you'll never be able to tell that you were missing that spot originally. And I'm just going to keep working all the way around the cup. And I just pick up a little bit at a time. And just kind of keep moving it around the cup. And I know this looks like you're using, like that looks like it's a lot, but it's really not. This pigment is so fluffy, I guess you would say, that it looks like you're using so much more than you're actually using. And like I said, if you drop some, that's not a problem at all. We can always dump it back in that little jar. So don't worry about using too much. I just like to use a little bit at a time so that I can see exactly where it's going, what I've covered, if there's any spots I need to go back over. And you can see now that I've reached right back around to that same area. So I'm going to go ahead and add some to the bottom. And a lot of times I'll just pick this up that I dropped right here and use that. And I don't know if y'all can tell how pretty this color is. Make sure you get around the edges really good. Now, and once I have that on there, we'll go ahead and close this, scoot it out the way. I just take my brush and go back over it to remove any loose pigment that I have. And this can be done with Pigment or Mica, just whichever color that you like. This one is really pretty because it kind of gives a sheen to it. And I'll turn this light on low so you can see. It's not quite showing. Let's see if I can pull it up here and let y'all see. There it goes. Can you kind of see that? It's almost like a color shift. It's a really, really pretty color. It's almost like a champagne peach. I feel like it's not coming across really well on this camera. Then we'll just take this. I'll open my pigment jar back up. that's left on my paper just goes back into the jar. What I will do now with this is I will take Rust-Oleum clear. You can use gloss or matte. Either one is fine. I actually prefer matte, but I'm out of it at the moment. I prefer the matte because it dries a little bit faster. But all that's going to do is just seal it for you. So once you spray it with the Rust-Oleum, I'll let it sit about 30 minutes and it can have its first coat of epoxy. The one good thing about using this versus glitter is once you get that first coat on, you can really go ahead and apply any kind of decals that you want. If you want to add foils or glitter on top, so many different options. So this is after I've sealed it with the Rust-Oleum 2X clear. You can kind of see a little bit more what this color is going to look like. I'll list all these products below down in the description with a couple coupon codes. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Also, I'd love to have you join my Facebook group, the Rustic Pixie Creates. If you decide to make one of these or give it a try, be sure to post your cup there because I'd love to see. So, thanks for watching. And this is after adding one coat of epoxy, and now you're ready for decals.